Allison Mack has been released from federal prison. Mack had a leading role in the show Smallville, then got sucked into the self-help group NXIVM in the early 2000s, where she spent the next 12 years. And while it's fair to say that most of its members joined with the intention of engaging in self-improvement courses, the group's leader, Keith Raniere, created a secret sorority of sex slaves and then used Mack to recruit other women under the auspices that they were joining some female empowerment club. A lot of people in the media refer to NXIVM as a, quote, sex cult, but I mean, unlike, let's say, Nicole Daedone of One Taste. One Taste was an explicitly sexual group that literally sold orgasms to Bay Area tech bros. NXIVM was pitched as an executive training program, and they actually did deliver on those programs, whether you agree with the curriculum or not. I mean, that's a different argument. So I don't know. I just feel it's unfair to people who were part of NXIVM to lump everyone in the same category, that they joined a sex cult. No, they didn't. It's just that the ringleader, Keith Raniere, then exploited that and harnessed the growing popularity of that front to then farm his own harem. Mack has spoken publicly for the first time this week since her sentencing through, I think it's like a 7-part series. I'll leave a link below. I'm not going to go verbatim through the whole thing. You can listen for yourself. But as a cult survivor, there were a few things that stood out to me in this interview about how she got involved, how she originally got recruited. That just reminds me, that a cult is a cult, man. They all use this general template to get people involved. And then somewhere down the line, it's a bait and switch. The podcast is called Allison After NXIVM by Campside Media. 1, she's famous. Obviously, she feels like something's missing from her life. I mean, this is very common with, really successful, highly successful or wealthy people. It's not odd for them to want to seek some sort of spiritual fulfillment when the landscape around them, everyone or everything around them is very material. So she signs up for her first couple of sessions, and then she goes through her first EM, which in NXIVM was like a pseudo-therapy session, and very similar to auditing, which the journalist mentioned. It's very similar to auditing in Scientology, where you hold the cans and spill your guts, spill your deepest, darkest secrets, and then you feel like you had this major breakthrough. So he basically, Keith Raniere, co-opted this practice from Scientology and rebranded it like it was some revolutionary idea. So Mack is slowly getting sucked in. She's intrigued by the whole thing before she has even met Keith Raniere. She is then personally invited to board a private plane to go meet the leader of this movement. Like, total curbside service, like red carpet treatment. First of all, any group, all right, that purports to offer these certain values or ideals, things that would objectively be great for humanity, even if it's like not world peace, but inner peace. The fact that it has to be through our group, like we're the gatekeepers and we can afford to usher you first class on this private jet to our headquarters. I was like, come on, that should have raised a red flag right there. Was just next level love bombing. But so this was their version of it. Then she arrives in Albany, and this is the weird part that I remember from HBO's The Vow. She's taxied to the burbs where all of the die-hard NXIVM people and Keith Raniere are playing volleyball at midnight. And she has this spiritual yearning. She's finally allowed inside and she sits with the group, and then Keith Raniere comes up to her, and he's this, and you can listen for yourself, as not what she thought he was going to be. He's not this, formidable character. But it's not just that, it's that he ends up being this really passive-aggressive weirdo. They had a brief exchange. Well, she tells him, I didn't realize I had to prepare a question for you when I first met you, because apparently he alluded to that, oh, well, did you prepare a question for me? And she says, I didn't realize I had to prepare a question for you when I first met you. I thought I'd just come sit on the sidelines and watch and sort of cheer you guys on. This is what she relays to the reporters or the journalists in this podcast. And so Raniere's response was oh, all right, so that's how you do life? He was basically saying oh, so you just sit on the sidelines and let your life pass you by? Just like a douchey, manipulative jab right out the gate to position himself as this big man, as this brilliant humanitarian or whatever, and to sort of put her even further into this vulnerable spot when, she's clearly spiritually or psychically confused already. But this also reminded me, It reminded me of my mother when I was growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, out door knocking. That woman, she could sell a bird's nest to a walrus. She would say, God gave you the sun, the moon, the air you breathe, blah, blah, blah. So what is God asking of you? But a little bit of T-I-M-E. Like she would do the whole show, like... Make the stranger feel bad, throw a little dash of guilt into your pitch that if you would only just get off your ass and show a little gratitude to the Lord, you might make it into paradise. Because you have to understand that was part of it. Similar to Allison Mack, it was loaded. You should give more time to us. We are the gatekeepers. Convert to our ideology, our brand of religion, and then God will be pleased with you. They're not in the in-group. Right? They need to get right with God. And he was pulling that in his own shitty way. But probably the most, I think the exact quote was, I thought he was a feminist helping women. I was like, ugh, because I personally believe real allies do exist. There are men who want women to do well. They want their wives, girlfriends, friends to succeed. And of course, that was not the case with this lunatic. I mean, he was a raging misogynist in every conceivable way. He really made inroads. He knew how to play the game, how to exploit these women. And this resonated because I know in real IRL, in real life, a subset of men who cosplay, I say, as feminist allies. I am a feminist, I support women, I listen to women, until they meet a woman with a different opinion, or who doesn't align with them politically, or maybe there's 10 boxes, you check 9 of those boxes, and 1 box you disagree with, and suddenly you're garbage. Instead of having respectful discourse and trying to understand where she's coming from, the switch goes off, and they become extremely misogynistic. It's like, whoa, I thought you were all for women. And then suddenly something that threatens your worldview, your eyes glaze over. They feel threatened and try to reassert suddenly their dominance, or what they imagine to be dominance, their perceived dominance. It's hypocrisy at its finest. That's why I say, like Raniere and what Mack went through, is like they cosplay as feminist allies, but it's really just a smokescreen for their actual misogyny. But Mack would eventually get in so deep that she eventually became an actual sex slave to Raniere, and then would, go on to recruit other women in the group who had signed up originally for those executive training programs. She would then recruit them into basically this sex cult, sex slave, MLM, and the way she would maintain compliance and silence was by gathering collateral to prevent these women from ever saying anything. And so there's a common thread or question, and that is, to what degree was Mack a victim, and how much was she the perpetrator? Did she just purely victimize and hurt others? You have people who think that even though Mack was famous, she's only human, and she was brainwashed by this nefarious character to do horrible things that she wouldn't otherwise do. But then, you have this other camp of like, F this chick, she ruined lives. So that's sort of like the hot take. What do you think? Is Mack a victim or just pure evil? Who should have known better? Is there gray area to consider? Anyway, again, if you would like to hear more, I will leave links in the bio below. Thanks for watching Stop the Shunning. I'll see you next time.